Hello and welcome back to our special interview sections. Today, we get to meet a very special family and personality. And by the time we are done, you would understand why this meant so much to all of us. Ordinarily, she would have been in her quiet place as an engineer in academia. However, she has become a public personality because of what she simply does. The quiz mistress of the National Science and Maths Quiz, an academic event in Ghana that has assumed international popularity. We would want to start with you, Dr. Kauffman. Kindly introduce yourself, and when you are done, Belinda would also do the same.
I'm actually Elsie Effah Kauffman. If you want to know my full name, it's Elsie Effah Kauffman. And I'm an associate professor of biomedical engineering, University of Ghana. Who am I? I am still a work in progress. I try to learn something new every day, learn something new every year, and get better and better all the time. As you have mentioned, my passion is education, particularly science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. But I'm interested in all aspects of education. Yes, I'm the eldest of 4 children. I think you are meeting all of them, which is good. And I think they will tell you more about me.
Auntie Belinda.
My full name is Belinda Ya Dankwa Effah. I was born on a Thursday. Everybody calls me Obaya. And you know, Thursday borns, we are very, very special. I'm the second of the Effah siblings. I come directly after Professor Elsie Effah Kauffman. And I can say I'm the shortest of all. But I'm the most interesting of all of them. My social life is something else.
Yes. My parents, let's start with my father. My father, my late father, was called Mr. Kauffman Effah, Mr. YK Effah. He was also in education, and he rose to the level of Director of Education, Western Region, before he finally went on retirement. Before then, he had risen through the ranks. He started as a teacher, teaching in the classroom, then all kinds of administrative duties. He is well known and well loved by his past students, especially those that he met while he was assistant headmaster at Ghana Secondary School, Kufuridua, and then also Tia Media Secondary School in Kumasi. I meet some of them and they still talk about him, which is a great thing indeed. He was an interesting man. He was principled and disciplined, and he made sure that his children took some of those traits that he had. I think I'm going to stop there about Mr. Effah for now and then go to my mother. My mother that you have met is Mrs. Grace Vera Effah. Mrs. Effah is also in education. She started as a teacher at a very young age, and she went through life making impact in the lives of many people. Sometimes we joke that she has fed about half of the Ghanaian population, because you cannot meet her without getting something cooked for you that you must eat.
That's true, at least I can testify to that.
She's an amazing woman. She has been my role model from the very beginning up until today. She may not have had the height of education that some of us have achieved, but she is an amazing woman because there's no problem in the world you can present to her that she would not have an idea in terms of how to approach, and how to deal with human beings. She's a wealth of knowledge in many different areas, and I appreciate her a lot. Much of what I have become today comes from her because of her help. When I just can't handle the things that I do, she's the one I'll call to support me. And so she's been a very strong support. Yes. So those are my parents.
I stayed longer with my younger brothers than Elsie because she had to go to the secondary school. So when she left, I became the elder sister, elder sibling. And I actually had to enjoy my post I really enjoyed my post. I was cooking for them, making sure they got ready for school and all that. And you know, I'm very adventurous. I made sure that they are also part of my adventures. I cannot be the elder sibling, assumed elder sibling, without you following my steps. So I was actually lording over them. And we were organizing fights. My daddy used to organize fights for us. Those times I could beat all of them.
So how did you get your interesting nicknames, childhood nicknames? The Obumpas, the Yasinis, the Vandidis.
Yasini, I think, is somebody who was like a Yasantua, a warrior. And you know, I could beat all of them.
Oh gosh.
Put them there. Before you win, you should make sure that your opponent is on the floor. Kofi was actually Kojo's manager. When the fights were being arranged, Kojo will go to Kofi for tips on how to floor me. And I didn't have anybody.
There is a history to it that I think she has forgotten. All these fights started, first of all, because she was very troublesome. She would cause all kinds of problems in the house when my father was away at work. And so there would be all kinds of fights and battles. And the moment he came home, each of them went running to him to explain what happened. So my father decided, okay, fine, this is how I'm going to deal with the situation. No one is to fight in my absence. I will organize the fight myself. So while I'm having my dinner, the fight will be going on next to me. This is how the thing started. So that he would have his peace of mind, because Obaya was always involved in fights with somebody else. And so Obaya was a constant feature in the fights. And she would even try to draw me into it. This started before I went away to secondary school, Yadankwa.
Oh yes, it's true.
So that was how the fights began. And because they enjoyed it so much, it became an entertainment feature.
And so Adadi will be having dinner and the fights will be by his side. Yes.
He was the referee,
yes,
eating his dinner and refereeing the whole thing. I was an observer. I would quietly observe. I would be agonizing, you know, wringing my hands in anguish. Kofi and Obaya, that was very violent. And then Kojo and Obaya would end in tears for Kojo.
And you know, it got to a point, they became bigger and taller than me. And they knew they were going to floor me and beat the hell out of me. So my daddy said, no more fights in this house. Just to favor me. I know I was daddy's girl, you know.
Ask you, at what point did it end? Because if you were the ones always instigating, at what point did it end?
When they became taller and bigger than me.
In your teenage years, early teenage years?
No, I wasn't even teenage, no, because I went to Form 1 when I was 12 years. So I think just before I went to Form 1, 11 and a half.
What did mommy do? Was she anxious? Was she worried?
Oh yes, she was, and she was always saying, "Obaya, ube pentokwadodo." She would talk and talk and talk, and I said, "Okay, so she's taking sides, eh?" She made it so difficult for me, because we are different people, two different people altogether. So she was the perfect child, very neat, very organized. And I was a tomboy. I was climbing trees, playing football, doing all kinds of things that she wouldn't do. So the difference was too much. That was why they saw me as a troublesome child. For all you know, I wasn't even troublesome because she was too perfect.
As the eldest child, yes, I was expected to set the example, and I kept getting reminded of all of this. And by the way, we each had a role in the house. And so for me being the eldest, I was supposed to superintend over them and make sure that everybody was doing the right thing. Not necessarily lording over them, because I did not lord over anyone. It was impossible. I mean, is it possible to lord over this one? It's not possible. So, but I tried to keep them in line the best way that I could. I remember I liked studying. I mean, I liked books. I liked those things. So one way that I kept them in line was to organize these classes. So whenever Daddy had these eyeglasses with no
without the
lenses,
frames.
just the frames.
Frame.
Whenever I put those on, it meant they all had to sit down quietly and come for their studies. And I had to read and catch up and, you know, have interesting things to tell them. And so that kept me going, you know, that adventure, that spirit of curiosity. In order to
write
something
place for us to act.
Yes. So I had to be creative, you know, to keep them. I mean, to keep this one occupied, you had to have activities that she had to do. So I would write plays, they would act the plays out. I taught the 2 boys how to write. Yes, wow. Yes. Yes, it was something I was doing, you know. Yadankwa, for example, you're talking about her career and all. She decided to be a science student because, as for her, she wanted time to have a social life. So my notes were there, so it was convenient for her. You see, I've revealed it. Is that
true? Yes, and you know, in the Briggles, the best and the brightest were made to do science. Yes, Nyamene Hene. Were made to do science by default, whether you wanted to do something else, so far as you were part of the first 30 or so. And I remember when we went, I think I was always in first 5. I was part of it. So I had to naturally do science, and I had my sister's notes to read. I didn't have to struggle to do anything.
How was it like combining schoolwork and moving around? Because your parents also had to move around from one region to another so that they could also take up their appointments. How was it like?
For me, it was not so hard because I wasn't the kind that formed these friendships that I couldn't leave. Yes, I did have friends everywhere I went, but they were not that limiting in the sense that leaving would have been a problem for me. So I usually saw it as an adventure, as an opportunity to learn something new, to go somewhere different and start again in a new environment. So that did not bother me.
It wasn't the same with me. I went to, let me start from my daycare in Winneba, class 1 in Winneba, class 2 to class 3 in Koforidua, class 4 to stage 3. I was jumped twice so I could write the common entrance in Royal International School. So look at all these schools and all the people that I had to meet, and then you had to make new friends. I had friends. I had friends, so leaving them was quite a challenge for me. But I overcame all those challenges because when I move on, I have to make new friends and then feel comfortable wherever I find myself. So it wasn't quite difficult as I thought because I could easily fit in wherever I was put. And I made sure that I stood out because I wouldn't want to go to a new school and then somebody bullies me. So immediately I have to tell them that I am not somebody who can be bullied.
You have arrived.
Exactly. So that was my strategy.
Did teachers complain about you?
No, they didn't. Surprisingly, I was a very good student and a very calm person in... No, I wasn't. I was surprised to hear that. I have stories. No. I actually fought. Physical, yes. Physical. I fought with the class prefect. He had written my name. As a talkative. And I remember I hadn't talked.
Are you sure you had not talked?
I remember, so I made sure I wasn't going to talk. And Kwesi Tega's father was the headmaster of Ghana's and my daddy was the assistant headmaster. It was just about 3 blocks away. Their house was 3 blocks away from ours. So we fought in class fierce. I warned him, threatened him. I told you, I'll go and report you to your father to put you in shape. So after school, this was class 4. After school, I just recruited my sister. I said, I need to go and do an assignment. Please follow me. And she also did. She followed.
She didn't know what you were going to do.
I did not know.
So I went and rang the bell, and then the house help came, and I said I wanted to speak to Mr. Frimpong. He said, what's for? I said, no, I need to speak to him. So he came and I said, I want you to warn your son. I hadn't spoken in class, and he said I had spoken and written my name and put DP. by the side. Yes. And we had to fight. So if he doesn't change and he keeps on writing my name, he wouldn't find it easy with me. So he should warn his son. He should beat him at home for me.
You added that?
Yes, and he was beaten. So, and then Elsie was just standing by the door.
I was so afraid. I didn't realize what she was going to do. This was the headmaster of the school. She was always getting me into trouble. I remember climbing the trees. My scars are still there.
Yes, she has a scar up here. Yes, see her forehead. You know, I was always climbing trees. Every tree around I will climb. And she wouldn't climb. I said, why won't you climb? This is so easy. So I said, okay, you know, I'll help you climb up there. So I helped her climb. It was the orange with the thorns. And then I helped her climb up, and then I got down. I said, come down.
She jumped down, and I'm afraid of heights. So I couldn't jump down.
And then all I saw was she was on the floor with blood coming from her forehead, and then she had bruises all over. Mommy, you got your fair share. She said, "Upenyimu na woman unyaketwa na udinechi." So you know. But I felt so bad. I felt so bad afterwards. But I was happy that she was able to overcome that fear because it was so easy for me. Yes, I think so.
Did you overcome that fear?
I never climbed the tree again.
But I couldn't understand why she wasn't able to climb this simple tree.
Doc, have you ever since been attempted to climb any tree at all?
Yes.
That's a confession.
Did you try to climb any tree again at all?
Yes, I can climb, but not very well. And I need to strategize on the path down. You know, I learned my lesson, so I will not climb a tree I cannot get down from.
At least she helped you to do something.
Yeah, she's helped me to do many things.
Now let's talk about school life. Having spoken to Mommy, I realized that perhaps she was one of the women who went to school very early, because at the age of 17, she had already become
She was a trained teacher.
A professional teacher.
Yes.
Did that impact on your academic life as well?
Well, education was always valued in the house. It was the most important thing from what I could tell. Everybody had to do their best, you know. Parents were investing very heavily in education, and later on I remember Daddy told me, I think he told the others as well, that your education is the best thing I can give you.
Investment.
It's the best investment I can give you. If I left you property, if I left you money, which, by the way, I don't have, someone can take that from you. But if you took your education seriously and you gained knowledge, that knowledge belongs to you. No one can take it from you. And so take it seriously, and I'm going to support you as best as I can. And the other thing was, we're never pressured into anything. We're not pressured. Study whatever it is you find interesting. Just make sure you are doing really well. You are the best or among the best. There was this idea of excellence in that household. Maybe it wasn't explicit. They didn't sit us down and tell us, be excellent or anything. But we had these competitions.
Yes.
Everybody had to find what they were excellent at. And so if you are the excellent, we was called Tatao. Yes. You are the expert in something, make sure that you distinguish yourself in that area. And so education for us, I think we didn't find it difficult studying in that household. And so it was easier to be an excellent person in some subject or area or discipline than to be, for example, for me, there's no way I would have been the Tatao in sports, never. Or tree climbing. But I could study and do it well.
We are told that each of you had your own interests. So it would be interesting to know a bit about what you did growing up as children.
I was a bookworm. I really loved books. And even as a university student, struggling university student on scholarship, whatever I was able to make or find, I would spend on books. I love books. I really do. The things that you can get out of books, oh my goodness. And these days, most of the books are even online. So that is what I do. I like reading. I like exploring different types of books and different types of literature and so on. Everything that is in a book I'm interested in reading. So yes, I was the bookworm. With regard to Obaya, Obaya is, I saw Obaya more as a social person, you know, the person who would interface with the world, the one who would get her energy from interacting with others, the life of every party, no fears when it comes to dealing with people. Yes, so that's Obaya in my books. And then there is Kofi. Kofi is, I was surprised you're saying the perfectionist. I don't see him per se as the perfectionist. He's more of an idealist. Idealist, rather. Yes. He looks at the world in a different way of what the world should be. Maybe that's what you are calling perfectionist. It doesn't, I don't see it as perfectionism, because we all have our ways of, you know, dealing with the world. He sees an ideal world, and he strives to get to that ideal world. Sometimes he's a bit aggressive in trying to get others to see this ideal world, when the world, you know, we can have different worlds and different means of achieving. So it's more of an idealist view. He was the one who was more likely to destroy things. Yes. So he would be the one to put apart, you know, put apart my daddy's treasured wireless set. Just to make sure you just to check to see what it was like. I think they expected him to be the engineer because of the things he was destroying around the house. Yes, and if I'm in charge of him, I was house doctor. He would be the one to go out, play football the whole day, and come back with injuries, and it was my job to fix those. That was my job as house doctor, and he gave me more work than anybody else. You know, the wounds that needed dressing. Oh, he got reprimanded, all right. They had their strategies. For me,
oh yes, there was a strategy.
They had their strategies for dealing with this. For me, it was my job to treat the wounds. I was not responsible for reprimanding anyone. I did not reprimand him. But I was there to provide the care. Yes, Kojo was Mommy's boy. Kojo was, you know, you asked about the age differences. What, 2 years?
Two, three.
So Kojo was the baby. He was our baby. He received a lot of abuse from Obaya, and so I was more like the protector. Kojo was also very curious. Unfortunately, he didn't know how to read. In those days when he didn't know how to read, he was very curious, always asking questions, and these people didn't have patience for him, so I would be the one to help him out. That's how I wound up being the one to teach him how to read and to write and, and those things, so that he could be independent. I went to secondary school, and whenever I came home, I felt I had missed something, but I would do my best to get back into the flow of things. And then I actually left Ghana altogether, and we didn't have much contact then. Phone calls were hard. I remember Mommy and Daddy would go and book an appointment at the post office to make a phone call to me, and Daddy would hog the time, you know, talk, and say, Mommy, okay, you can talk to her for 1 second. But we were still writing letters. We were writing letters. So yes, I did get letters from Obaya especially. Yeah.
Yes, and she'll send me photos.
Yes, and she was causing grief in, you know, she would give my address to people to write me all kinds of strange letters.
For many families, you realize that as they grow up and they pursue their individual interests, they grow apart. But for the effects, my observation is that you are still as much together as you were when you were growing up. Is there something that was planted in you, that you were made to grow up with, that have kept you together?
I would say maybe Mommy. Mommy and her interest in ensuring that there's unity in the family. And so she does her very best. She does her very best to keep us together. Right now, we don't see each other as often as we should. Well, by and I, we are still. But because the men are elsewhere, it's harder to keep that kind of contact. But yes, we are still interested in each other's activities. We follow each other. And I feel if I called on my siblings or I called on my mother for any help, they would be there.
When I spoke to Mommy, one of the things she said was that everybody was made to pursue their dreams. Mm-hmm. You were supported and encouraged. But the key word was that make your decisions, but you will be responsible for your decisions.
Exactly.
Is that what you lived with?
Exactly. That was it. I was given the freedom to choose whatever I wanted to do. I went to the US and started doing bioengineering. Nobody knew about that here in Ghana. Nobody was doing bioengineering in Ghana. I remember on the phone one time, Daddy asking me, so this thing you are studying, what is it again? And what are you going to do with it? And later on, he came to the US and met up with me, and he said to me, you know, I didn't think I would ever see you again because I personally felt we have lost you because of what you are studying, and it's hard to imagine what you would do with it in Ghana. I don't see where the link is. And so, in spite of the fact that he was concerned, he had those concerns, he still felt that I had made my choice. And as long as I was doing well in that choice, that was okay, that was all right. And I always appreciate the parents, my parents, Mommy and Daddy, for this opportunity to do what I wanted. So I've lived with this idea that it has been my choice. Whatever it is I'm doing, it has been my choice. And it is my responsibility to be the best. I think I mentioned to you that that was one of the things we were taught to come up with. So each of us is a tatau in our own right, wherever it is we find ourselves. We have been made to understand that wherever we go, we have to put in our very best to make sure we distinguish ourselves. And that's exactly what we are doing.
Doc, interestingly, you traveled at a very young age. Perhaps one of the youngest people to travel to go and continue education. How did it happen? Can you tell us about it?
16. That's when I left Ghana.
How? And you went?
Yes.
16?
Yes, 16, 17.
So how did this happen?
Well, I was at a Brig Girls minding my business. I was a science student. Everybody expected me to go to medical school. What happened? I was there minding the business, you know, usual school life, boarding school life, when I got a message to go see headmistress. I knew I had done nothing wrong because normally headmistress does not call for you. Yes, Mrs. Esibe, the late Mrs. Esibe. Headmistress will not call for you if you haven't done anything wrong. So I was wondering, I kept combing my mind to see what I had done that day or the previous day. I was sure I hadn't done anything unusual. So when she wanted to see me, I was a bit worried, but I went to her office, and that's when she told me that the school had received a letter to nominate a girl to go and participate in an activity, and it was for the purpose of getting a scholarship. But I should prepare myself because the school would, she was planning to nominate me for the scholarship opportunity. And what was the preparation? I didn't even know what to think of. She said I should just study. I didn't even know what to study. Anyway, when the day came, I was put on the school bone shaker. In those days, we had the bone shakers. So I was put on the school bone shaker and taken to Accra. And it was at the, I think, Wayek at the time, their old place. I got there a little late. So when I went there, I saw this big hall with students, all different uniforms, writing busily. It was an exam. It was an essay they were writing. So I sat down and they brought me my paper. And I remember the question really well. 1986 has been declared the International Year of Peace. Write an essay on peace and international understanding. Yes, that was the topic. So I sat down and I wrote to the best of my ability, you know. I wrote about man not being an island. You need to have world peace and all sorts of things. I wrote to the best of my ability. And that was the first round of a whole series of activities. So from there, they shortlisted. And I was one of those who was shortlisted. And then we had interviews. I remember it was a panel, and I was so afraid. I was small. there was this panel, and the panel asked all kinds of questions. They asked about my background. I remember they asked me, okay, what shows that I'm a Ghanaian? And again, I answered, you know, our names, you know, the way I speak, our culture and things. They asked me, can you dance any Ghanaian dance? I said, well, I can try. And at the end of the whole procedure, it was a series of activities. At the end of the whole procedure, they picked 3 of us. I was first to be picked, and I was told that I would go to the United World College of the Atlantic in Wales. It was the first of these United World Colleges, the first one established in 1962. Yes. And the second person would go to Canada, and the third person would go to the US. We were told that we're going to be representatives of Ghana. When we go there, we are to show that we are Ghanaians. We should have our opinions count. The idea is you go and see the world, meet all these people from all around the world, and come back to your home country and make a difference. It was a challenge that was thrown to me. So when this happened, then I went back to school. I went to inform Mrs. Esibe. She was very proud of me, of course. And then my parents were informed at this time. So I'm going to be traveling to the UK, to Wales, to go study. And I didn't even have a passport. And again, I thank my parents. You asked about being allowed to go at such a young age. I remember Daddy telling me, okay, you're a bit young, but we feel we have done what we can with you. We trust your judgment. Go and do well there.
That was the departing word.
That was it.
Was it a show? Was it a huge responsibility that was placed on your shoulder?
It was.
Did you see it as a responsibility that was placed on your shoulder?
I did, because to be told that you are representing Ghana, the whole of Ghana. Yes. So I saw it as a responsibility. I had to distinguish myself there as well. There were so many people. Mrs. Esibe, that I respected so much, was my role model. I could not let her down. My siblings, I had always been told you are the first one, set an example for them. I had everybody looking up to me. It was a major responsibility, and I had to deliver on that responsibility. And again, we had been trained in the house. You don't make a promise you don't intend to keep. And so if you've promised to go, learn as much as you can, come back and make a difference. I had to come back to make a difference. Just I didn't know when I was going to come back to make that difference. But if I came back, it was to make a difference. It was a challenge.
Auntie Belinda, how has it been like being a sister to the venerable Dr.
Hey, I feel on top of the world.
Apart from everything that she's done, was there ever a time, before she became this popular, was there ever a time that somebody stopped and said, look, are you related to Dr. Effah Kauffman?
Several times, although we look a bit different. We talk almost alike, but she is more refined than me. Sometimes on the phone, my daddy will say, he will call, and then any of us will pick, and then he's confused. Who am I talking to? Your buyer na course. And then I'll laugh at Ewa. You know, exactly. So people, apart from my size, me being bigger and shorter, our faces almost the same, and then we talk almost alike. So I get people asking me, are you related to, and my name, Effah, my maiden name, Effah, are you related to Elsie? And they know I'm related to her. That's I always tell, that's my elder sister, and I'm so proud of her.
At a Brig Girls, the seniors used to come and ask me, are you sure this is your sister? She was causing so much trouble. She got them into trouble several times.
Oh yes. I didn't understand why I'm on my way to a place, you accost me, give me your bucket to go and fetch water. When I tell you I'm not going that way and I can't fetch your water, you start abusing me and say all kinds of things. So I got a strategy. I'll pick your buckets, put it aside, and then continue with my journey. I don't care where your buckets will find itself. Elsie would never do that. When they want to punish me, I go straight. I went to Mrs. Esibe and reported some of them. Yes. I went to Mrs. Esibe.
So that was the way how you brought your way out of.
Yes. Because I wouldn't do that to anybody, although I am so aggressive.
Anyway, so how do you feel being her sister?
I feel I don't know how the feeling. You can't describe that feeling. I watch all the time, and sometimes I'm online, also typing stuff. People are saying all kinds of things, and I'll correct them, and then they'll insult her, and I'll also put them back. Oh. Yes. They will say things that are not true, and I say, hey, that's a lie. Then I'll say all kinds of, and I also talk, maybe sometimes she'll be wearing something, I say, you are looking good. I comment on all that on social media. She's not on Facebook, and I get to post all the photos, and she doesn't like that fair. Because she thinks that strange people will be looking. I said, strange people, you know the number of people who have been posting you that you don't see.
Why are you not on social media?
For my peace of mind. You know, I'm a very private person, so this interview has given me all kinds of, you know, I'm a very private person. If it were not for the National Science and Math quiz, I would probably be doing my thing very quietly. And by the way, I have many things that I do on a more regular basis, my regular profession that I'm doing, and things that I do that I'm so proud of, and I'm surprised is this quiz program that
has brought you to the limelight. I get my fair share of the abusers. People come and say, and your sister was very hard on us, and gave us the difficult questions, and gave those people the easiest questions because she doesn't like us. And look at even the attire she's wearing. She's supporting the school. I always have to fight for her.
I don't believe in fighting.
not physically fighting though.
Okay, good.
This time,
at least you've stopped the physical things.
Yes, this time I don't do physical fighting because
good.
I'm older and wiser, and I know if I do physical fighting with my structure, everybody will beat me to death. So now it's the mouth that I use, and then the mouth and the pen that I use to do my fights.